Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. Thank you for spending a little part of your day with us. My name is Whitney Kirshner, and I am the channel director for our Google practice here at TTEC Digital. And I'm super excited to be joined by my colleague and AI expert, Amy Allen, today. We're going to be spending the next 30 minutes talking about all things uh, Google Cloud Vertex and its impact on customer service operations. So real quick before we jump into that, just in case there's any of you that are unfamiliar with TTEC Digital and what we do, or TTEC broadly, we are a global customer experience services company. We have been doing this for over 40 years. We have TTEC Engage, which is our BPO business. So we actually manage customer experiences for our customers globally and have about 55,000 agents that sit in contact centers around the world for some of the top brands. And then we have TTEC Digital, which is our professional services and SI side of the business. And we've been partnering with Google for the last few years, really focusing on conversational AI and some of the CCAS products that Google has been putting out in the market. So with over 40 years of experience in customer experience and contact center space, we are working with all of the major contact center technologies, and that is our background and expertise. All right, I am going to stop presenting here and let's jump into the real reason why we are all here today. You've all seen it. There's so much content out in the marketplace around AI. It is impossible to scroll on your phone or watch TV without seeing some sort of ad or content related to AI. And while AI is great for editing images or creating funny videos, generative AI also has the ability to really transform the way enterprise organizations or organizations of any size transform how they provide support to their clients and their employees. Which brings me to my first question here for Amy. Amy, can you share with us some of the most common business use cases that you have seen with organizations using AI?
Yeah, sure. So, Whitney, to your point, there are so many use cases with AI, and there's so many options, and it can be overwhelming for businesses sometimes to determine what the right focus area is. If you think about some of the different use cases that are in the marketplace that we hear about are, digital concierge, document search, generating reports for clinical trials, financial advice via research summarization, logistics planning. There's a variety of, marketing use cases from generating copy to product recommendations. But for today, we'll narrow our focus a bit and think about the contact center and customer service automation, agent assist, search capabilities, and what some of those business use cases look like both internally and externally. So the first thing I'll kind of say is we see a lot of customers that they have this need to build trust in the technology, which is understandable. We've seen this technology evolve. 3 to 5 years ago, it was very common to come across a dumb bot, which really gave the technology kind of a bad rap per se. But that has really, really shifted, especially when we think about a few key focus areas. So let me start with some internal business use cases. So if we think about agent assist, the power of this technology to assist agents is pretty amazing. From serving up content to the agent real time, to summarizing the conversation or the interaction at the end. There can be live transcription for the agent also to assist them. And there can also be smart replies as well, that allow the agent to have that content at their fingertips to send that back via a chat. So this technology really, really supports those type of use cases. And we see this more common than not because it allows businesses to dip their toe into the technology, which is really great. And the other internal use case, if you think about internal help desks, like back office operations, where there's repetitive tasks, maybe things related to contract reviews, document scanning, all of these things can drive efficiencies. And these different use cases can span different industries across the marketplace, which is great from an internal use case perspective. If we flip to the external, that's where we get into the self-service, enterprise search. We see companies wanting to leverage Vertex search and conversation to do some of those things. This is also where LLMs have allowed these interfaces to be even smarter, more intuitive. We don't have that dumb bot happening anymore, thanks to the technology and how it's evolved. And then lastly, scaling across languages with the translation API that Google offers. This allows customers to take those business cases that they've determined and allows them to scale across different languages to support their business.
It feels more and more like generative AI and self-service are becoming much more than just buzzwords and are actually being embedded in a core customer service strategy. How do you see generative AI intersecting with self-service capabilities?
Yeah, sure. So this technology is the most flexible technology we've seen and that computer science has ever built. It has casted us into a whole nother world with generating content, creating conversational experiences, driving towards that operational automation. And it's really beyond self-service in just some of the things that we think about. But specifically, we'll talk about those lanes with self-service, chat, and search. The great thing about Gen AI is it's exceptional at wading through vast amounts of content and creating insights and answers that are really in a human, approachable format, such as text and images. For example, if a user wants a 20-word answer to a question, a bulleted list, or an image that represents a thought, Gen AI can be useful in generating that precise experience that they're looking for. But what really sits at the core of that is that data accelerates everything. The more data, the expansion can go wider, the net can go bigger. So the ability for businesses to have good amounts of data is going to make the Gen AI even more powerful for them when it comes to self-service. Before, when we think about, the older technology, a lot of these self-service type of experiences were hard-coded, which took a lot of time, money, effort, resources, and that was in the past. Now, with having the right data, the right answers can easily be generated. But one of the key things I think that's really important to remember is we still want to drive towards a conversational experience that perhaps even has a persona as well. And a lot of that can be driven by branding, marketing, what the image is of the company. But when you're creating those conversational experiences through data, you also need them to be transactional and personalized. Think about a patient that needs to find out about a specific claim that they have, or they need to make a payment. Those things go beyond the FAQs and the power of Gen AI, but Gen AI can definitely understand what the customer is wanting to do, but then you need to bring in that transactional, personalized experience to come full circle for the customer. There is you know, a much better experience that can also be created than a traditional IVR, as an example. So as I had said earlier, companies are wanting to kind of dip their toe into the Gen AI marketplace. And if we think about starting small, if you've got an example of a legacy IVR that's in place that needs to be modernized, you can start small and then expand, because dismantling a legacy IVR can seem like an impossible task, but it's really not with Gen AI, with a solid strategy and how it can be done in small iterations and taking parts and pieces of it and infusing the Gen AI, leveraging the data, creating those transactional personalized experiences can be a win-win for not only the business, but also the consumer. And the last thing I'll say to this question, Whitney, is that the beauty of it is it can be deployed in one channel and it can easily scale across other channels and languages, which at the end of the day allows companies to meet their customers in their channel of choice as their choices continue to evolve.
That's so fascinating, Amy, and I'm glad you mentioned data being the accelerator, because I think one of the most asked questions we get that I'm gonna ask you is, how is AI helping organizations shorten that time to value?
So nothing new. The innovation technology of Gen AI and LLMs has changed the landscape drastically. The time to market for solutions, especially with POCs, is even faster. With the intelligence of the models and the variety of models that are available via the Google Model Garden, the time to market is so much easier and faster, and just the options are incredible. And, you know, based on the different products that Google is providing, depending upon your scope, you don't necessarily need a data scientist and the skills that they would traditionally possess. All users with varying levels of expertise can create innovative enterprise search and chat or voice applications, and it truly makes it easy to prototype. If you think about also, you know, what are the steps in this process? That's really important to start with. What are you solving for? What are the business challenges? What are you trying to do? Because if you really understand what that is, then you're able to leverage the technology to move quick. So are you trying to reduce agent handle time? Are you trying to save money, reduce effort? You know, what are those core business challenges that you're really wanting to overcome? And then what are the goals and the objectives around them? So you know what your problem is. What does it look like? What does success look like? What does your employee productivity go to? How much money do you plan to save? Is this about being innovative? So those are kind of some of the things to think about when you're determining how this technology can support helping you solve your business problems. The other piece to this as well, and I know I've said this several times in our conversation, is data availability and what's available and what's needed. There's a lot of, you know, models, as I had talked about in the model garden, but it's also really important to leverage business specific data to make the solution really smart and really intuitive. So it's good to understand what's available there as well. And then what do you require from a team perspective? Are you partnering with an experienced partner to help you design, develop, test, and launch this technology? Or is it something that you can do in-house? Or is it hybrid? So those are really important things to think about. What's the design going to be? What's the UI build? What needs to be, you know, those are all things that need to be planned for as you lead up to your launching and then expanding. So those are really key components that you need to think about, because if you can get all of those things determined, then you can get to market even faster because the technology is there and waiting.
That's so critical. I think it's so easy to flip that switch to turn on AI, but there is some work that needs to get done on the front end, building a foundation with some of those key components that you referenced. And we see a lot of companies who start with AI and then struggle to maintain the quality or effectiveness over time. So, what would be your strategy, or what would you tell folks on how to keep virtual agents relevant and up to date, or how do you avoid that dumb bot bleeding into your virtual agents?
Yeah, so there's a variety of different things that I have found to be really important. Number one, it's so imperative to recognize that this technology is not a set it and forget it type of technology. When you are determining your business case and you're planning out what you're going to do in this space, ensuring that there is investment on the back end is really, really important. That's the care and the feeding of the technology that's driving towards the improvements. Additional model training that might be required. You may have dialogues that need to shift. You may have additional FAQs. So all of those things have to be considered. And while the technology is really smart and continues to get smart and it evolves, it still needs that care and feeding on a regular basis, especially on kind of the front end where you've just launched. You're probably going to see more of an effort, and then things will flatten out in regards to the support that's needed. But also, you've got to have the expectation that customers are going to drive the need for adjustments as well. Getting user feedback, seeing the trends, taking survey data from your customers or your internal users in regards to what maybe isn't working so well or what needs to be improved upon. And that can be something that can come on a regular basis or at varying times. So really being ready to support those various types of activities is really important in keeping it relevant and keeping it up to date. So the last thing I'll say to that as well is having a roadmap too is really critical, and that will help you evolve with the technology. If you know what you want your POC to be, and then understanding what that roadmap looks like for the next 3, 6, 18 months. And also recognizing that it may change because the technology may change. You may be able to go faster than what you had originally intended.
Okay, so you just covered a lot of the core things that companies should be doing when implementing their AI strategy. But let's look at the other side. Where do you see companies making mistakes when it comes to implementing AI?
One place that is always challenging is having a defined business problem and what they're really trying to solve for, and thinking about those questions that we talked about earlier in regards to being prepared as an organization, understanding what you want to get out of it. What are your KPIs? What are you going to measure? That way you know what you're working towards, and then you can have a plan for how you want to get there. Secondly, I would say don't boil the ocean. Don't try to do too much. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. Make it simple to start, because that's going to help you get off the ground a lot faster. Also take into consideration data availability and APIs. This is a very, very common challenge that we see in regards to data being available, or maybe legacy APIs that are not suited for being able to extract the data that is needed. And this should be a factor in what your POC looks like or what your roadmap looks like, because if you're understanding and recognizing these things on the front end, it will make things a lot easier as you get into the design and the development. Next, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, it's not a set it and forget it. Understanding that it will always need that care and feeding is really, really important. So don't make that mistake. One other thing is we see a variety of different customers, and some of them tend to have a lot of cooks in the kitchen and a lot of chiefs. You've got a lot of people with a lot of ideas, a lot of opinions, and sometimes that can slow your progress. So having a laser focus, having a small squad of people that understand what the objectives are, have identified the business problems, and that have technical knowledge, business knowledge, that's your core group. That's your squad that you really want to focus in on to bring this technology to life for your business. And then the last thing I'll say is there's a lot that can be accomplished with this amazing technology, but it's also so important that it's planned and that it's structured and that it's flexible as well. Because like I said, you may get into a POC or your second release, and there may be APIs that aren't available, as an example. So being flexible will also make you and your business successful with this technology.
All right, we are coming up on time here. So thank you so much, Amy, for your time today and for sharing all of your knowledge. It was truly insightful. And I know it's going to help a lot of organizations who are currently working on building their AI strategy or in the process of it or starting their research of it. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. We do these webinars at the end of every month, so hopefully you can continue as we talk all things Google Cloud, Vertex AI. Next month, we will be talking about building employee knowledge workers, so we're very excited to have our own Sean Lewis help present on that topic. In the meantime, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Or if you are looking for more information, check out ttecdigital.com. No matter how you like to consume your content, whether it's blogs or videos, we have something for everyone. So thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you on the next one.